Hey guys, welcome to the Dive Tribe podcast. This is episode number 3. We're keeping at it and improving as we go along. I've had some people say, well, wow, what do you think you're doing a podcast? You know, why should I be doing a podcast? Well, one of the reasons I've got a reason to do the podcast is I've got some amazing friends that I've met over the years in Scuba. And if people could sit around at the dinner table and hear us talk about stories we've had, I think they would really enjoy it. And so that's what this is all about, is I'm sharing the relationships I've made over the years in Scuba and some of the information. So hopefully you're going to enjoy it. Today we have one of my best friends, great guy, amazing photographer, and somebody that I've been on more adventures with than all of my dive buddies combined. And that is the famous photographer, Tom St. George. So everybody out there, put your hands together for Tom St. George. You've probably seen his photos in magazines and all over the internet. Hey, Tom, how you doing today?
Hey, Rich. I'm good, thanks. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks for joining us. This is pretty exciting. So I just kind of want people that don't know about you yet to learn about some of the things you've done and kind of the things that we've done together, because you're always up for an adventure. You're one of those guys that I call you with a crazy idea. And you're like, all right, what day do I book a ticket?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm based in Mexico in Tulum, in heart of cave country, Mexican style cave country. And that's how we met. I mean, you used to come down here quite a lot. We need to get you to start coming back a bit more often, I think. But yeah, we met cave diving and cabin diving down here in Mexico. I spent a lot of my time taking photos and videos in the cenotes, the caverns, and the caves of Mexico. I guess that's what I'm kind of known mostly for. But I've been really lucky. I'm so glad that we met, because we've had so much fun doing Dive Tribe stuff. I'm involved in the Ice Hole Festival, which is one of the highlights of my year every year. I really look forward to that. It's such a great adventure. And we've done a number of trips. We did Caymans, and we've done Cuba. I'm probably forgetting one. We've done trips down here to Mexico, obviously. And we've got some cool trips coming up as well. So it's always fun.
Coming up. Yeah, we got Fiji coming up soon. And
yeah, I always love diving with the Dive Tribe. So I'm very happy
to
be part of the whole thing.
Well, that's one of the cool things is we met. You were I brought a lens down so you could start doing underwater photography,
right.
and I asked you, hey, would you be willing to take some photos? And you said sure. And at the time, I was doing some. I think it was Apex. We were doing some prototypes for the side mount, and you took some great photos, and we shared them with the guys at Apex, and photos came out great. It was unbelievable. One of the things I loved was, I mean, this was the first shoot we did together, and we stopped at an OXXO and grabbed some water, and then Tom told me, all right, this is what I envision. There's this place, and there's a tunnel, and air bubbles form on the roof, and you had it all in your head what this shot was going to look like, which is unbelievable because there's so much distraction diving in a cave, and the lighting, and there's so much that goes with it. And you had it all in your head that morning. You were like, this is how it's going to come out. And I should have pulled some of those photos together to share, but they were great. That was our first time together. It looked amazing.
Yeah, I remember that. I vividly remember that. Yeah, so I mean, cave, actually, diving in the caves, it's actually a very controlled environment. We don't have to deal with currents. We don't have to deal with tides. We don't have to really deal with the weather. So we kind of know what we're going to get when we go there. And we know these places really well now. I mean, I've been here for well over 11 years. So I have a pretty good idea in my head of, where's going to be a good place to go and get some shots. Where's a good place if we're diving side mount? Where's a good place if we're diving back mount or rebreathers, And we have a lot of variety down here. So it's not like we're not spoiled for choice.
Now you're doing a lot of seminars, aren't you, on cave photography?
I do, yeah. I do a couple of workshops each year for Wet Pixel in conjunction with Under the Jungle. That's a lot of fun. So we do cavern and cave photography, purely focused on shooting caverns and caves. It's a very different environment. Obviously, we need to bring our own lights. Natalie and I have very different approaches. So Natalie is very kind of has almost a theater stage lighting mentality of placing lights in the cave and really lighting up an area. I'm more kind of like to use someone as a lighting assistant, so kind of someone to carry a video light and to kind of be moving around and using them as rather than spending time placing lights. And I tend to use strobes as well, whereas Natalie's very much focused on just video lights. So people get to try both of those approaches. Really enjoy that. I also do private cave photography workshops for people. I have one coming up in a couple of weeks. And then I'm involved in Cave Camp, which is an event we run every year here also in Mexico. So Cave Camp and the Ice Hole Festival are kind of two of the most fun things I do during my year.
What week is Cave Camp?
It starts next month. I think it starts on the 6th.
I've always wanted to make it, and I haven't made it yet. Something always comes up. But for people out there that are cave divers, I mean, this is really cool. I mean, it's like Disneyland for cave divers, I think. You know, all the amazing divers from around the world showing up in one place, working together. You don't always see that everywhere. And I was kind of wondering, you know, there's a kind of a hotbed of photography going on in Tulum with the just amazing cave photography. And do you guys get together and talk a lot? I mean, is everybody friends? Because there's some of the apex photographers there all in the same town.
Yeah, so I know, I mean, there's so many cave divers here, so many cave diving instructors, side mount instructors. We have some of the best models in the world, which really makes our life. I mean, I have Julia, my partner, who is an incredible diver and just looks amazing underwater, and is also really good at doing the lighting for me. So that really helps. And we have some of the most beautiful caves in the world. I mean, maybe Bahamas possibly has some prettier caves, but you'd be hard pressed to find as many pretty caves as we have anywhere else.
Yeah, it's an amazing town.
And we have, so I know, I mean, there's Marissa Ecker, there's Mikan at ProTech, SJ, there's a whole bunch of people. And it's becoming, you know, when I started doing it, there wasn't a lot of people. I mean, there'd been some people who had been doing it for a long time with film cameras and swimming around in the dark, manually firing strobes off to light up an entire cave. They didn't have, you know, the video lights weren't powerful enough then, shooting stuff on film, but it was quite niche. And the last 5 years, it's really exploded. There's a lot of new people coming on the scene, taking amazing photos. The cameras have got really good now. Like the cameras see in the dark, which really makes it so you can just shoot with one video light and not even have any on-camera lighting. Nice. But yeah, there's a bit of friendly rivalry, obviously, between all the photographers here. But no, everyone pretty much gets on.
I like that everybody's kind of gotten their own style. It used to be anytime I saw a good photo on my Facebook feed that was in Tulum, I assumed it was you. But then I started to notice everybody has their style, and I can just look at a photo and almost tell. And I've always loved how you look at things, because it's very much like what you see when you're diving, you know, and I very rarely see photos that look like what I saw when I was in the cave. They've done amazing things to highlight the certain aspects, but you have a very realistic look of the cave, and I love that about your photos.
Thank you. So I started off actually shooting in the cenotes in the caverns and chasing people around on doing guided cavern dives. So I didn't really have time to do set up shots or anything like that. It was all very much on the fly. And that's really has informed a lot of my photography moving forwards. And it also, it forced me to get really good at capturing the moment. And photography is really all about capturing the moment. So I think it was really good. It's not something that I enjoy really doing these days. I much prefer working with cave divers. But I think those few years I was doing that was really good training for being able to switch up the settings, dial everything in really quickly without even looking at the camera, So now whenever I get a new
working with Julia, you've kind of worked out like a communication underwater, right?
Actually we don't even really need to communicate too much because she kind of knows what I want. She also doesn't take direction very well, so often she has her own idea, and it's often better than my idea. So often we go with that anyway. So like we do a briefing before the dive. I tell her exactly what I want to do, and then she spots like this cloud of hydrogen sulfide and wants to go and play in that. But then we come back with some really cool shots of her lighting up the hydrogen sulfide cloud. So it's
maybe we get both of you on, and you can give some. I know being a photographer, it's frustrating when your divers don't look good. You can't get a good photo, right?
Yeah, it's very difficult.
The relationship that Julia and you have, the way you guys take the photos, that would be an amazing podcast to have sometime, just to share some of that info. If I could maybe get you guys to come back for that.
Yeah.
Tom is a world class. I'm sorry, Tom.
I was just going to say, especially side mount can be particularly unforgiving. But if you want to look good in your photos, you can always spend a little time with Julia, and she'll get you dialed right in.
Yeah, Tom, I've watched him edit photos, and you're heavy on the delete button. So he'll take thousands of photos and he'll delete, almost all of them. You've got pictures that you've deleted that I would love to have one of those, be able to take a photo like that.
Well, it's a team effort. So shooting in the caves is always a team effort. Usually it's at least three of us. So and everyone has a part to play. There's photographer, there's model, and there's usually someone doing the lighting. Does take everyone kind of pulling their weight. But yeah, I will take a lot of photos because we don't want bubbles in the background. We don't want people blinking. That little, where they're pointing their light, just that little change. And then there's one shot that just really stands out as that's the one that we want to keep.
Nice. Well, I know you work with quite a few companies because you are shooting every day and all over the world. And why don't you tell me about I know you're working with a new camera company with your housings and things like that. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I'm very lucky. I've got some good relationships with some scuba companies. I'm very lucky to be an ambassador for Marilux. They're quite a new camera housing manufacturer on the scene, but they're doing some really innovative products. They've just come out with some strobes that I'm really looking forward to try. They came out with a really nice snoot. So a snoot is like a way to focus your strobe light into like a little spotlight. So we use that for macro photography. And they've come out with a really nice one where it just has a dial which will adjust the size of the spotlight, which is really, really nice. So they're doing some really cool stuff. I really love my Marilux housing. It's super cool. I also work with Huish. So I'm an ambassador for Atomic, Bear. I really love my Atomic regs and my Bear dry suit, Hollis, and Stallsack. So some really, really nice products there. And I've recently started working with Scuba, also called Scuba Lamp, who make video lights and strobes. So obviously those are very important additions to anyone that wants to shoot in the dark. We need plenty of light. So they're the companies that I represent. I also have a really good working relationship with Apex and Fourth Element. I do promo shots for them. I have a big shoot for Fourth Element coming up at the end of November, which is going to be.
We love Fourth Element. They support the ISIL festival every year. So,
and Apex as well, I think. No,
pardon me.
And Apex as well. Do they support the ISIL? Yeah.
Yes, they do. Yes.
So we have good relationships with them. I've done stuff for Paddy. We've had really good relationship with Paddy. Looking forward to catching up with those guys at DYA.
DYA's coming up, and that's a big passion of mine. I love DYA. I'm running for the board this year, but I feel like as scuba divers, we don't have much that support us, that we can get together and build our industry. And DEMA is the one opportunity that we all get together from all over the world and share our information and try to lift each other up. And you're going to be at DEMA this year, and you're actually speaking. Is that correct?
Well, I've applied to put forward a proposal for speaking on the imaging resources stage on behalf of Merilux. So I hope that gets accepted. I'm really looking forward. I haven't been to New Orleans before, so I'm very excited. I've only been to a few DEMAs. The first one I went to was just before the pandemic, and it was really great. So obviously, I'm connected with a lot of people online who are in the industry: photographers, cave divers, technical divers, and I know a lot of people that I only know online. And so events like Cave Camp, like DEMA, like the ISOL Festival, meeting Charles at the ISOL Festival is amazing. Get to meet these people, start talking about, collaborating or doing stuff together. It's a really nice atmosphere, and it's really nice to actually sit down and have a chat or a drink with some of these people that you only know online,
Definitely. Yeah, I encourage anybody that's a dive professional or works in a dive shop. Unfortunately, it's not a consumer show, but anybody that's in the industry in any fashion is welcome to join. It's November. Oh boy, I can't think of the dates now.
Mid-November 11th or something like that. It's right in the middle. Yeah.
So I know it's in New Orleans this year, which is huge because we've been wanting to have it in New Orleans for 20 years, and we were supposed to have it in 2020, and it was going to be a big deal. And of course, we know what happened in 2020. Yeah. No shows. But now we're back, and we went early to kind of check the scene out, and it's going to be beautiful. They've got 5 host hotels there. It's so many people are participating there. So this is going to probably be the biggest one in the past 10 years is my guess. So we'll get some good food and see lots of folks. I want to tell a story about we were just about the networking that happens at DEMA. We were looking at doing an Australia trip, and this was, boy, how many years ago did this start? It was like 4 or 5 years ago.
I think it was
and we were talking to the folks in Australia about doing the trip, and I introduced you to the guys, and next thing you know, they were offering to do a special exploration trip for us, like one-of-a-kind trip. And then someone else overheard that was from the government, and they came and invited us to come down to do some citizen science a day early. And you've got a magazine that wants to do the article on it. It's just like incredible
synergy.
Just the synergy happened out of nowhere, out of one conversation, and one person heard it, next person heard it. Next thing you know, we've got this signature trip that we're going to be doing, and that's it was supposed to happen once again. I believe that was during 2020, and it didn't happen. So that's finally going to happen next year, and so that'll be an amazing trip. We've got a few spots left on it, but that's going to be just something that came out of everybody wanting to work together, and the Australian government and the captains of the boat down there, and you happened to be there, and they saw your photos. And I tell you what, when you've got a guy walking around with you, and he can pull out his Instagram account and show the photos that you have. What is it at Tom St. George, or what's
Tom.St.George?
Yeah, I mean, you've got some amazing photos. People start drooling, and the resorts start saying, "Oh, let's work something special out to get Tom there." So that is going to be a trip that we'll be doing. Tom's going to be there, and we'll be doing some diving outside the barrier reef. We're going to be looking for new sites, and we have no idea what we're going to see, and neither do they. It's kind of a true expedition. So that'll be something fun.
I'm really excited about that one, and we're going to get to name some dive sites as well, which is going to be cool.
Oh, it's going to be great. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to get started with the podcast now. Everybody got a chance to know a little bit about Tom, and we're going to get into what we have you here for today. So we'll be right back with that. All right, guys, we're back, and we've got Tom St. George with us. Today, our podcast topic is actually we're going to be talking about a trip to the Philippines. And the reason we have Tom talking about this is I think he's got like a dual citizenship there. He's been spending all of his time in the Philippines since he was invited there. When was the first time you dove in the Philippines?
So it's actually been fairly recent, 2022. So I got invited to speak at FIDEX, the Philippines Tourism Exposition, dive show. I got invited by Tourism Philippines to come and speak about, they kindly invited me to come and speak about shooting in the caves and caverns and what I'm kind of doing here. They're actually finding caves and doing some cave exploration in the Philippines at the moment. And also around Indonesia and Miko Pasai in Thailand is starting to do exploring old abandoned mines. So it's a thing that's kind of starting to actually emerge in that region. It's starting to get quite interesting. And as part of the trip to the Philippines, I got to do a fam tour to Dumaguete. And I was blown away. Oh my God, the macro diving there, the muck diving is just insane. And the guides are really good. Like they are finding tiny stuff. They know where everything is. You give them a wish list of what you want to see, and there's a pretty good chance they're going to find everything for you by the end of your trip.
Wow.
It's amazing. So the Philippines is actually right in the middle of the Coral Triangle. So it's the most biodiverse region of the ocean on the planet.
So where is the Coral Triangle?
So the Coral Triangle is basically Philippines, a bit of Indonesia and Malaysia. So that whole area, it's basically where the Indian Ocean meets the Pacific.
I think we've got a map of that. Let's see if we can pull that up.
So yeah, the Coral Triangle, as you can see, is like the Philippines, parts of Malaysia and Indonesia and Papua New Guinea and the Solomon Islands, which also Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands would be great to do some trips to, I think. But the Philippines, really amazing diving. But also the food and the people are just amazing. The hospitality, I think Filipinos probably do the best hospitality in the world. And so I was in Dumaguete diving and absolutely blown away. And I had asked Atlantis for an extra couple of days there to check out their resort. And oh my God, the resort there is just amazing. The staff, the dive guides, the food, the accommodation, they have a spa. It's really nice resort. And so it just takes the whole experience just up another notch. And then after that, I had a week in Puerto Galera, which I won in a photo competition, I think in the Ocean Art 2020 or 2021. So I got a chance to go and dive with Asia divers in Puerto Galera. Had a really great time there as well. And also went and had a quick look at the Atlantis Puerto Galera resort, which looks just as nice as the Dumaguete one. So
tell me, if you were to compare the two diving, what are the differences between the two locations?
Yeah, so actually I think I did it the wrong way around. When I did that trip, I did Dumaguete first and then Puerto Galera. I think it makes a lot more sense to do it the other way around. I would say Puerto Galera offers a lot of variety. It's reef diving. They have wrecks. They even have a little cave, cavern, grotto dive with sharks. So it's a bit of an all-rounder, but it has lots and lots of macro as well. So it's basically and right through to tech diving. So they kind of literally tick all the boxes in Puerto Galera. So it's every dive, is plenty of reef fish and nice reefs to look at, but also lots of macro. And Dumaguete, on the other hand, is muck diving. So it's sandy, rubbly, broken little patches of reef and lots of artificial reefs. But it is jam-packed full of little critters. I mean, it's incredible.
Nice. Is this pretty shallow diving?
Yeah, so I think both places you're looking at doing kind of a 20 meter, 60 feet to start, and then comes shallower. So it's nice dive profiles. Dumageddon in particular, every dive is pretty much on a slope. So you kind of head down to the deepest point and then start working your way back up. So really nice dive profiles. They both offer 5 dives a day. So it's, like being on a liveaboard, but not being on a small boat. So having, a bit of room and space and a pool and a spa, but being able to do 5 dives a day is just amazing. So two dives in the morning, 2 dives in the afternoon, and a night dive. So the first time I went, I was doing 5 dives a day, really pushing it. This time we went back to Dumageddon. I've just got back. And I was invited to join the Atlantis Image Makers for 2022. So Atlantis every year invites about a dozen photographers, videographers to come and dive with them and with Marty Snyderman, who runs it, who is a legend in underwater photography. And a really great trip. Got to meet some really cool people. Met Barry Gumbalo. Do you know Barry Gumbalo? He was the founder... Yes. Yeah, the founder and the president for a long time of the Dallas Underwater Photography Society.
Right, yeah, he lives here in Dallas. Great guy.
Yeah, so he knew International Scuba, he knew Paddy and you. So yeah, that was small world, right? I mean, you go halfway around the world and you meet someone who knows International Scuba. So,
yeah, definitely. Well, I love his magazine. He would do the dive training magazine.
Yeah.
And on the cover, he would have a photo. And then when you would open up the cover, it was taken from the opposite angle. So it'd be like the front of the divers maybe entering the water, and then it would be from the boat watching them enter from behind. And he would always do that or with his photos, and it was very cool, very creative.
That's really cool. Yeah, he was showing me he used to manufacture dome ports for the I can't remember the name of the housing, but for an old brand of housing that's not made anymore. And he used to make these mini dome ports, and he was telling me how he used to manufacture them because you couldn't get them. Really cool. So yeah, got to dive with a lot of cool people. They had the Rolex Scholar. So every year Rolex sponsors a young under 21 person to be kind of like an ambassador for diving. So she joined us. That was really cool.
I heard she came and introduced herself in a unique way. I heard she came up and asked if you were an ice holer.
We should invite her to the ice hole. That would be cool. So yeah, I've forgotten what the question was.
We're talking about the folks there. One of the questions I had is
the differences in the diving. So yeah, Dumageddon is very focused muck diving, and it's intense. Like you're shooting something and the guide's like tinging you saying he's found something else, and you're like which is cooler. It kind of gives me a little bit of anxiety. But the cool thing is you get the chance, if you want to go back and shoot the same thing, it's a pretty good chance it's still going to be there tomorrow, So if you went and you tried to shoot the frogfish and it didn't quite work out, there's a really good chance you're going to be able to go back there tomorrow to the same spot. They're going to find you the same frogfish and you can get another crack. So I'm going to be helping people with the photography. So anyone that wants some hands-on guidance, I'm going to be the photo pro on the trip. So I will be giving people tips, helping them with the editing, giving them some feedback on the images and how they can improve them, and then they can go out and get to try taking the same shots tomorrow and working on their lighting, or working on getting more shallow depth of field, or changing the background. So that's going to be really cool. I really enjoy helping coach people with their photos, and I'm going to be making sure we get some nice pictures of people in the group. So we'll get some nice group photos on land on the top side, and we'll try and get some nice photos of people underwater. So there's both of the destinations we're going to have some day trips. So there's a day trip to Verde Island, which is a big wall dive, which would be a great place to get some group photos. And there is Apo Island, is a day trip from Dumageddon. Amazingly beautiful reefs, really healthy. I haven't seen anything as pretty and healthy as that. I mean, Cuba, we had some really beautiful, healthy reefs in Cuba, and Wakatobi was amazing. But these reefs totally rivaled that. I mean, it was really amazing to see these really healthy reefs that are not as remote. You know, the Cuba and Wakatobi are pretty remote locations, but this was actually, you know, it's really nice to see. And they have a healthy turtle population, and you'll get we were seeing sea snakes on every dive, which is really cool. And they would go up to the surface to breathe and then come back down, and you try and get this shot of them coming back down again. And often they come straight towards the dome port. They see their reflection in the camera. So
how come I always find you in front of deadly creatures with a camera?
They're not the poisonous. They're not the poisonous ones. We're all right.
Oh, okay. They're safer than that crocodile we were diving with.
And yeah, like I say, you know, you just need to ask the guides for what you want to see. So we were doing our first dive at Apo, and we were like 10 minutes into the dive, and I kind of turned around to the guide and went like, you know, where are the turtles? Where are the sea snakes? And I turned back round, and this turtle came straight towards me, and then this sea snake came straight in behind him, and I was like, okay, you just need to ask, and then you get it. So
I know you normally like wide angle. Do you carry like 2 cameras underwater so that you can capture both, or what are you doing?
So these destinations, especially Puerto Galera, would be really good for anyone shooting with a TG6. That gives you the opportunity to easily change between shooting some really nice tight macro and wide angle. On these trips, I've been tending to concentrate on macro. I'm getting really, really into shooting macro.
Nice.
I know I'm known for my wide angle photos, but I actually started off my early days in underwater photography were when I was working as a dive master in Sipadan and Marble, which is also, Marble is also a lot of muck diving. And I had a little Nikon Coolpix or something and a homemade video light, and I was shooting macro. So I actually started off shooting macro. Nice. That's how I started. But yeah, I'm really, really getting into macro. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying the chance to kind of go back and work on a subject, have the chance to kind of really, really, really try and get the shot that you want. And it's really nice. If you find a cooperative subject, you can spend 10, 15 minutes shooting it. It's really nice.
Yeah, I love macro because usually the fish won't turn around, you know, and then you've got a picture of its butt. They kind of stay in place a little bit more, for the most part.
Yeah, and when they're so prevalent and everywhere, it just every dive is a productive dive. You're coming back with photos from every dive. It's really nice.
Sure. And you mentioned the Olympus TG6. And I love those. We've got about 5 or 6 of them in the shop that people can rent on trips and take pictures with. And I've done a lot of macro photography with it because I love it. I just put a video light right over the top and don't need to add any lenses or anything and just get some amazing stuff.
And actually it's easier. So I have quite a big camera rig. You know, I have a full frame camera. I've recently switched to the Canon R5, which is quite a chunky camera. So the housing is quite big. So, and then the dome port, the macro port and everything. So it's actually a little bit challenging sometimes to get the lights in close and get in close, and the camera's close to the bottom. With the TG6, with this really small form factor, it's really easy to get the lighting really close and get stuff. And the photos are really amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I really like backscatter for a place to pick them out because I mean you're not going to find them any cheaper anywhere. We have a dive shop. We don't sell them in our shop. I just send people to backscatter. And one of the reason I really like to promote backscatter is they've got pages on how to use the TG6 that are just unbelievable with the settings and the different, whether you're using strobes, and it's just a great reference for anybody that's wanting to get started with that camera.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Backscatter as well. That's who I get all my equipment from. I'm actually starting to work with them as well now. We're going to start doing some cenote trips. So yeah. Uh, so yeah, I'm actually thinking of getting a TG6 to, as you said, to carry to have two camera systems. So if I'm set up for the big camera set up for wide angle, if I bring a TG6, and we find something amazing for macro, I can still get some photos and stick a wide angle conversion dome port on the TG6 when I'm shooting macro, and I've got a backup to shooting wide angle. So it seems a little bit over the top to have two cameras, but it solves the problem for me. So
Sure.
that
Well,
that
I think
anxiety.
anybody that's going should definitely get their camera and practice in the water. Get some little tiny things and work on that.
Yeah,
You
and
mentioned a snoot earlier, and it's really challenging to use those, but man, it makes the photo so dramatic once you learn how.
yeah, so like a key part of photography is kind of like making your subject stand out, right? And often we're shooting, if you're shooting a little nudibranch and there's kind of a cluttered background, it's kind of difficult to get a nice shot. But if you just use the snoot and you're just lighting up the subject, then we can get everything else fade into the background or black. It really helps make your subject pop. So we did a macro photo workshop in Cozumel a few years back with Bill
Right.
Sturm. Me and Bill Sturm ran that. That was a lot of fun, and everyone was obsessed with the snoot. I think the whole trip, everyone was just doing snoot lighting. We've made some homemade snoots, and the guys bought the backscatter make really nice snoots, and they're not that expensive.
No, that's what I was going to say. They're very reasonably priced. And
Yeah, for underwater photographic gear, they're a bit of a bargain, and they work really well, and they're pretty small and compact, so they go really nicely with the TG6. So that's what I would think of, pairing my TG6 with, definitely. And you can take the snoot off and still use it as a regular strobe, and because you're close, it doesn't need to be super powerful, so it's perfect. Yeah.
So what about the divers that are going to the Philippines? So is it challenging diving? Is it very easy? Is it good for new divers?
Yeah, so Puerto Galera is suitable. They cater to everyone, basically, from beginner through to tech divers. So they have some deep dives there as well that I would love to go back and check out one day. But yes, it's really easy diving. There's stuff in the shallows, so if you don't want to go, particularly deep, you don't have to. And depending what you're into, some people really love collecting nudibranchs and are obsessed. I'm not that personally. I'm not that enthralled with nudies. I really like Shaun the Sheep. I think we have a picture of one of those later that I'll show you. But unless it's really nice nudie and he's on top of something, so you can get a nice background and stuff, I'm not so bothered. But a lot of people like collecting them and get really into them and all the different varieties, because there's millions. And there's a dive in Puerto Galera that we did under the pier, and I kid you not, in like a meter square, 3 feet by 3 feet box, you could just pick any box and you look there and there would be like 50 nudibranchs. I mean, it was insane. After about 10, 15 minutes there, I was like, said to the guide, like, no more nudies. Like, I'm done. Like, can we go and find something else? This is too much.
So do you have a favorite fish that's or creature in Philippines?
I'm quite fickle. That's a little bit like asking me what my favorite cave dive is. It depends what I did last and where I got a really good photo. But coming back just now from this trip to Dumaguete, I really enjoyed spending time and shooting with the pink-eared mantis shrimp. I was calling them the pink ladies. I don't know if they were male or female. It's hard to tell. But they have these googly eyes, and once you spend a little time with them and they start coming out, getting comfortable with you and coming out of their burrows, really fun to photograph.
Nice.
Also the jawfish, they've got a lot of personality too, with their cute little faces and their looking in different directions and stuff. But I'm happy if I find a cooperative subject. I'm really happy to spend 10, 15 minutes just shooting that.
Very cool. I think we've got some footage to share from your trip. So let's.
Yeah,
Why
I
don't you
think we
talk
have
to us?
photos from both Puerto Galera from my trip in 2022 and also some shots from Dumaguete this year. So
Excellent.
yeah, I was saying how amazing the dive guides are. So this is a pygmy squid, and it's like 2 grains of rice, basically the size of it. And the guide just found this on a hiding on a sandy bottom, just incredible. And sometimes the guide would like ting ting and like point over at something, and I would swim over and look where they're pointing, and I still can't, I'm still not sure what they're pointing at, and it turns out to be some tiny nudie or something. They have to come over and point out to you. They have phenomenal underwater vision. It's incredible. So yeah, these are some shots from Puerto Galera. So it's still a really good macro destination, but also has some bigger stuff like eels and giant frogfish. Super cool. I think I mentioned earlier it was my first time getting a good shot of a pygmy seahorse up there on the left. These guys are really, really small, and they're really well camouflaged. They're really, really hard to spot. So you're trying to get them lined up in the viewfinder, and you keep losing them. It can be a little frustrating.
Wow.
And then you can do some nice kind of portraits, like the eel and the green moray eel there at the bottom, and the I'm not sure what that is actually, with the stars in its eyes. And then on the top right there, we have a giant frogfish. That was super cool. And then lots of little critters, nudies, and little shrimps and stuff.
Nice.
This was from the recent trip. So we have a ghost pipefish up on the top left. There's a really cool dive in Dumaguete, which is basically the octopus dive. You have a good chance of finding reef octopus. If you're lucky, mimic octopus, which are quite rare. And there was another one that we saw that I can't remember the name. And this is just a rubbly bottom. There's like nothing really there, but once the guides start finding stuff, it's really quite incredible. Flamboyant cuttlefish on the top right there. They're always really cute, cool to see. Absolutely beautiful creatures. Amazing. And then at the bottom left, there's my little jawfish poking his head out of the burrow. I didn't see any with eggs this time. I'm still hoping to get a shot with. They have the males have the eggs in the mouth,
Right.
Incubating them. That's a shot I still want to get. So maybe we'll get lucky in March. And there on the top right, there's the pink lady, with the pink-eared mantis shrimp. And then in the bottom middle, there's the Shaun of the Sheep. So I was saying I'm not a huge nudibranch fan, but I do love these guys. But they are super, super small. So you kind of need a diopter, close-up diopter, so you can focus a little bit closer and get more enlargement. But they're a lot of fun to shoot. And they have some bigger stuff. So there's a stingray in the bottom right there with just a close-up of his eye while he's hiding in the sand. Cuttlefish were quite common, and then lots of little shrimp. So in the top middle, there's a hairy shrimp. I like it when the names reflect what they are. What is that? It's a hairy shrimp. Okay, and the one below it, the bubble coral shrimp in the bubble. So even I can remember what a bubble coral shrimp is called. Cool. And top right is the sexy shrimp. So they're quite cool, because they do like this little waggly, little sexy dance. Cool little nudie in the bottom left there. Oh, and bottom left, that was a highlight for me. I spent a lot of time shooting that. Sorry, next slide. That bottom left there, shooting that hairy squat lobster. They're really cool. And super, purple on a pink barrel sponge. It's just really nice and colorful.
Wow.
Really happy with that.
In the upper right?
The upper right is mantis peacock shrimp. so nice and colorful. And also the one next to it, top middle, is another type of mantis shrimp, but very, film noir. It's almost black and white. These very dark tones. I kind of like that guy too.
Nice.
And really happy with the shot bottom middle with ornate ghost pipefish with a crinoid in the background with the colors. It's really nice. So yeah.
So were you able to find any of these yourself, or is it like every single one of them is being pointed out?
No, you know what? I'm actually starting to get quite good at finding stuff. So the first time I went, no hope at all. I really needed the guides to point everything out to me. But once you start learning where you find what and where to look for so now I can find Shaun of the Sheep really easily because they're on a particular type of leaf. That's the only place you're going to find them. And you look there and you're going to find you'll find one, and they're actually everywhere. They're really tiny.
I think I'm going to have to put readers in my mask finally.
So I've started diving with one contact lens in and one contact lens out, which means I can see far in one eye and through when I'm looking through the viewfinder, and with my left eye, I can actually see really, really close. And that's really helped me. So that's a good tip for anyone who dives with contact lenses. And
do people dive with magnifying glasses?
Yeah, definitely. Magnifying glass definitely helps. I was using my diopter that I screw on the lens sometimes to like try and work out which way it's facing, because with the really small stuff, sometimes you can't really see, and even in the camera, because I'm going to I need to crop in quite a lot to kind of get decent enlargement. It's really hard to see. Sometimes I've said to the guide, like, I might ask you which way it's facing, because these guys are like laughing at me, and I'm like, which way is his face? And they're like, you want to shoot that way? Okay, great. For the really small stuff.
So are there books that have for that region? Have you seen anything that
they have? So they have all this at the resort. They have all the books with everything. The guides know stuff. So you come back, if they find sometimes they find stuff that they're not entirely, they know roughly what it is, but they're not sure of the Latin name. Or what specific version it is. So often we're coming back after a dive and looking through the fish ID book to find stuff. And they have posters on the wall with like everything that you're likely to see. It's almost like a menu. So before the dive, I was like, I would like to see one of these, the Halimeda ghost pipefish. I still haven't seen one of those. I'd like a pygmy, I'd like a hairy squat lobster. There's almost like ordering from the Chinese. I'll have a number 1, a number 5, a number 7.
That's exciting. Those the little stuff is usually the things that is the craziest looking, it seems like. It's a good thing that those things aren't human sized, because then it would go from being cute to being a nightmare, but they're definitely some crazy creatures out there.
Weird and wonderful critters. Yeah, I'm really getting quite obsessed with them, and it's nice for me because although I'm kind of working and taking pictures and stuff, it's a total change of scenery for me. This is why I'm getting really, really into shooting the macro stuff. It's kind of a busman's holiday.
Very cool. So let's see here. We're going to be going to Porto Galera. The dates are March 9th through the 15th. I know we're leaving on the 6th, just so we have time to travel. And in case there's, anybody that's traveled recently knows that, you're about 50-50 to get your flights. But so March 9th to the 15th, Porto Galera, and that's going to include all meals. It's we've got internet access, which is, of course, important to post all your pictures. Was it up to 5 dives a day, I believe? They say unlimited diving. It sounds 5 dives is
5 dives.
That's about my limit.
You can't fit more than 5 dives. Like, you physically cannot fit more than 5 dives in.
Yeah. Also, the Atlantis is giving us a $100 resort credit, which is pretty cool. That price is $1,105. That does not include airfare. So airfare is everybody could check it out. We just set up our airfare and depending on how many stops can really change the price.
Yeah.
We've got all the transfers and stuff. As long as you're at the right destination at the right time, those are taken care of. So
Yeah.
there's some flexibility. I know we spent a whole day looking at different options, and if anybody wants to call the shop, reach out to us at the Frisco location. Jen is pretty good with that stuff. She's been setting up, helping people set up their travel. On that trip, you can add on the Verde Island, and the add-on for that dive is or that day trip is $114, and sounds like you really like that dive.
I haven't. I did Apo Island in Dumageddon. I haven't done the Verde Island. I didn't get to do that on this trip, so I'm really looking forward to trying that out. And I mean, that's totally reasonable add-on for a day trip.
Oh, for sure.
The day trip we did to Apo Island from Dumageddon, they had a chef on the boat. So you go in. So most of the diving is from little boats, because I didn't mention earlier, but the dive sites are all really close. So you're generally spending 5, 10, 15 minutes to get to the dive site max.
Okay.
The shortest one we did in Dumageddon, they didn't even start the boat engine. So we all got on the boat. They let out some of the mooring line, and we were all sitting there talking to each other because the engine hadn't started. And then we look up, and the guide's like, "So you ready?" And we're like, "What?" He's like, "Yep, let's go." So it was the house reef. So all the diving's done from boats, just because they want to have someone watching you, and just in case there's a freak current or someone gets into a problem with the SMB, there's someone there to supervise. Nice. So the boat rides are really short, which is why they can do 5 dives a day.
What are the ratios of dive master to divers on the boat?
So I think on the website they say 5 or 6 is the maximum. But when I was there, we were doing like 4 people, I think was the most that we had. So they try to keep the groups as small as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know a photographer that used to go over there, and he would say that the dive masters are like rock stars. If you're going to get good photos, you need a good dive master, and they would hire the same dive master just to spot the things for them. And they said some of those dive masters make a ton of money because they're highly sought after from photographers.
They are another breed. They really are. Like how they see this stuff and how they see it from so far away is just amazing. So there's definitely some of the guides that have been doing it longer than others, but all the dive guides are really good, and they share information around themselves. So as soon as they find something cool, they just they tell all the other guides, find out where it is and know how to find it. So nice. There's definitely no shortage of targets.
Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going there, some of the professional photographers, or if you're there on assignment from a magazine that's willing to pay the money and hire one of these guys as a private guide, you're going to have a field day.
Nice. All right, so we're going for 2 weeks. So the first week is Puerto Galera, the March 19th through the 15th, and then the second week is going to be Dumageddon. So Dumageddon 15th through the 21st. The price on the Dumageddon week is $2,405. That includes the day trip to Apo Island.
Oh, nice.
So that'll be part of it. All the meals, internet, dives, all that good stuff. Now there's another add-on option, which is Oslab. Is that the way it's pronounced?
Yeah, so that's a day trip. It would probably be good to do that as kind of your last day if you're not diving. It's snorkeling with the whale sharks. So it gives you, if you don't want to dive on the last day, if you're flying out, shortly after, you want to make sure you have 24 hours or whatever, give your gear a chance to dry and all that, or the rest of it. A lot of people did the whale shark trip on the last day. I haven't done it. We have whale sharks here in Mexico. I've done a lot of whale sharks, so I just took the opportunity to go out with the guides. I actually had just me and one of the guides because most of the people were on the Oslo trip. So that worked out quite nicely for me. But yeah, you get to go and have a nice day trip and snorkel with whale sharks, and they're guaranteed.
So
it's
that
pretty much
add-on is
guaranteed.
$131. So that sounds like a pretty darn good deal. Whale sharks. It's funny. I spent several years going down to Belize to catch the whale sharks, and they were expensive trips because they included like a plane that would try to spot them, and 2 expeditions. I never saw whale sharks. So for years, I thought whale sharks were a mythical creature along with the unicorns. But then going up out of Isla Mujeres and seeing them there, and man, they're beautiful. That's the closest I've come to crying underwater. Just how huge they are and gentle and just amazing.
I saw my first one in Koh Tao in Thailand when I was right at the beginning of my diving career, and it was just we were just on a surface interval transitioning between dive sites, and the captain heard over the radio there was a whale shark. So we booked it over there and everyone jumped in and snorkeled. Incredible experience, like amazing. But now I've done it quite a few times here in Mexico. It's pretty much guaranteed here with the feeding they have off Isla Mujeres every year. But in Oslo, it's virtually 100% guaranteed because they actually are coming up to feed on the fishermen cleaning the fish. So so they feed them, which some people may, some people have views about shark feeding and feeding stuff. I would much rather see them do that and turn it into a tourism operation than fin them,
definitely.
That's so I want to see
after you swam with one. I don't know how you could possibly fin one. It's unbelievable.
So yeah, they used to fish them. Now it's a tourism activity. I'd much rather see that. And fully support that. And the same with like in Belize with the shark feeding. In an ideal world, we wouldn't do shark feeding, but the fact is it promotes tourism and it means that the people are not fishing sharks. So I would take that as a win for sure.
Very cool. Well, I think the best way to do this trip, it takes a couple days to get over there. You lose a day traveling.
So top tip with the flights. If you're flying to just want to do the Dumaguete trip, you want to book your flights all the way through to Dumaguete. Otherwise, if you book to Manila and then get a domestic flight Manila to Dumaguete, your luggage allowance is really small. That's the problem with these domestic with domestic flights now. They treat them like budget airlines and give you 7 kilogram for your carry-on. And 140 pound check bag and one 14 pound carry-on. Whereas if you book it with the international flight all the way through, you get your 2 check bags and your larger carry-on allowance.
Very good. Yeah, I think the best way to go with it is to probably do both weeks. I mean, if you're going to travel that far.
Yeah, and I really see it as Puerto Galera as like a nice warm-up week where you get get back into diving, have some fun swimming around pretty reefs, seeing turtles and sharks and stuff, and start practicing your macro. And then we go to Dumaguete and we start to get serious and go hard out shooting macro. And then you have the break it up with a day to Appa Island to see beautiful reefs and turtles, and then at the end you have the option to do the whale sharks. So it's a pretty full rounded trip, but with a heavy leaning towards getting some macro shots if you're into photography.
Very cool. Yeah, I know we've got a lot of our instructors are going on this trip because this is a great trip, and anybody that has a camera wants to go to the Philippines and take pictures.
Yeah,
it's interesting. I've had people new divers that went to the Philippines like as their first trip, and it seems like they're there all the time now. That's their only place they've been, and they just keep going back and going back. It's
I'm definitely going to be adding a Philippines trip to my calendar every year. I'm absolutely in love with the place, and Atlantis. The diving is spectacular. The amount of marine life and critters you see is just jaw-dropping. But Atlantis is like the cherry on the cake because the staff are so amazing. The guides are so amazing. They take such good care of you. The accommodation and the food and everything is really good. Um, it's not full service, but they take all your dive gear onto the boat. I mean, they're not putting your fins on for you, but you're not carrying any of your dive gear. They'll carry the your camera to the boat. So it's really easy. It's a short walk. The beach is I don't know, 20 feet. Walk, get into the boat, and 10 minutes later you're in the water seeing amazing critters. So it's all very easy.
Did you explore town at all when you were there? Any of the local stuff?
No, I didn't really. Porto Galera in particular, I know is actually there's quite some interesting stuff to see there. But I didn't leave the resort either time. Darwin, we're pretty far away from anything. We're out of town at Atlantis Dumaguete. Okay. They do offer some, if you don't want to dive every day, if you want to have the afternoon free, you can sit around the pool, you can have a massage, and they also offer some day trip like activities. Okay. You can go and see the local volcano, go to the market. They do different things, different days. And they also do a marine life presentation at 6 p.m. every day. So if you want to find out more about, they'll talk about particular things. They do one before the Apo Island trip. They do a presentation on Apo Island. So there's other stuff to do if you're not planning on doing five dives a day. I'm probably not going to do 5 dives a day. I think I'll probably be doing 4. So I'd probably aim to do the 2 morning dives, an afternoon dive, have a break, and then do the night dive, because the night dives are a lot of fun.
You've got to download photos, right, and edit. You don't have time.
Well, yeah, definitely download. I actually was pretty good this trip with doing some editing as well. If I'm helping people with their photos and with their editing, I'll probably have to leave all mine till I get back from the trip.
Right. So you'll be doing some. Like, I know I've watched you teach some of your class. So you do like traditional, like how to shoot angles and some recommended settings.
So it's not gonna be a full-on workshop, but I'm gonna be offering kind of little bite-sized hints and tips, and helping people with specific stuff, and giving I think the most useful thing to do is actually give people some feedback on the images that they're taking and how they can improve them.
Right. Well, I've watched your students, people that had professional cameras, and even people that had point and shoots from like the Caymans. And we looked at some photos, and boy, they were they weren't very good. And within a couple of days, that same person, I was thinking, they just don't have an eye for shooting underwater. Next thing you know, they were coming out with some beautiful photos, and even when you give some of your tips on how to edit the photos, and using Lightroom and whatnot, because you can be really heavy-handed with editing, and your pictures look worse after you've edited them. And you've kind of got that knack for maybe almost like getting stuff out of the way of the photo instead of piling effects on. So that really improved photos.
I mean, one of the first tips that we normally tell people is to start shooting raw. And the thing with raw images is when you start pulling them into Lightroom, they don't necessarily look great. They're lacking contrast. The colors are muted. But this is the reason we shoot raw, is it gives us the flexibility to play with those things. So an image might not look that great until you've actually start to do a little bit of editing on it. So
we'll definitely need to kind of flesh out how we want to do the class. Maybe we can do some Skype ahead of time or something like that.
Yeah, I'd definitely be up for doing make sure that people are have everything they need for the trip, photography wise. They're set up. Get them to read some resources. The depending on the camera, the Backscatter TG6 resource is really good. And we could have a little Skype session and give some basic tips to get people started, and then we can take it from there.
Good deal. Well, I know we've got, I think, 10 spots left on the trip, so we're about half full, or a little over half full. So I think once this comes out, it'll probably fill up pretty quick. So if anybody's interested in jumping on this trip, it really is a special trip. And just by the trip by itself, you can tell what you're going to see. But to have someone like Tom there, not only helping you get the photos, but people always say if you don't have photos, it didn't happen. Well, Tom's going to get a picture of you, and you're going to put it on your social media, and it'll be probably on the cover of your social media the rest of your life. I mean, if you look at all my pictures,
I do like that. A lot of my Facebook friends it always makes me smile when their profile picture or their banner is one of my photos. It happens quite a lot. It's always
it's really special. I mean, people literally go on trips to have a Tom St. George photo of them in a cavern or on a wreck or whatever. I mean, you really capture people, and it's gonna be cool. But the trip is definitely gonna fill up quickly. We love to have people on there, especially if you're a fish nerd and like to find the weird creatures. I mean, this is gonna be a great place for that. And then also, obviously, photographers. A lot of our staff is going to be there, so we're going to have a lot of really good divers there to if you're a newer diver and you're a little nervous, you're gonna have some great dive buddies. Tom's been on our trips. I mean, it feels like the people that have traveled with us, particularly like to Cuba and things like that we're all family now, exploring just once in a lifetime experiences together. That's kind of what the Dive Tribe is all about. And that's what, this trip is definitely going to be one of those things where we're all experiencing something that most people haven't. And you'll be able to share it through pictures and stories on Facebook. We're looking forward to having you, but you can reach out through internationalscuba.com under our travel page. We've got the both trips are on there, or like we recommend doing both of them together. And you can also reach out to the store at any time, either location, the Carrollton location or the Frisco location. We're happy to get you set up. Definitely, Jen is the expert on travel for us, and so I hate to throw her under the bus, but if you call up in Frisco, she'll be a little better than I am with the details. I'm a big picture guy, and leave it to the experts to make stuff work smoothly. But it's gonna be a great trip, and I'm really glad that you're coming with us, Tom.
I'm really looking forward to this trip. I mean, I've loved every one of the Dive Tribe trips we've done. Have all been so much fun. Everyone is, it's always such a great bunch of people. And I've been to about 7 or 8 resorts in the last 12 months. But Atlantis, I have to say, like, both times, as soon as I've left, I've just wanted to go straight back. I mean, you remember when I came back from the Philippines and I was saying to you, we have to organize a trip to Atlantis Dumaguete. As soon as you leave, you just want to go straight back. And not, a lot of places are really cool, but you want to go and try something else. This Puerto Galera and Dumaguete, I would keep happily going back. Like I said to you, I'm going to be I think I'm going to be trying to add at least one of those to my itinerary every year from now on. So,
well, I know you've never come back as excited because you came through DFW to get there, so we got to visit on the way, and then coming back, that was all you were talking about. Like, I think you messaged me halfway through your trip, like, "Oh, I mean, this has got to be a Dive Tribe trip." So, we're all excited. So I appreciate everybody spending this time watching the podcast. Hopefully, you're enjoying it. Leave comments. We're learning how to do it. The nice thing is we've got these amazing guests that make me look good. All I have to do is bring them on, and you get to hear the same type of conversations I have on the dive boat. Hopefully you're enjoying them. Follow us on Facebook, Dive Tribe, IS Dive Tribe on Facebook. I'd like to leave us with some of the video that Tom brought back for us, and so we'll let you guys watch that, and hopefully we'll see you for the next episode. Thank you very much, Tom St. George, our photo guru. We will see you soon.
Thanks, Rich. It's always fun talking to you, and thank you for inviting me on the podcast. I'm really looking forward to getting to hang out with the Dive Tribe again soon. That's going to be a lot of fun. And I think we have some video from Dumageddon and from Porto Galera. Special thanks to Alex Rose, who was on the Image Makers trip with me, who let us use some of her video, and some video from Dumageddon that we got from Atlantis.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining us, everybody. Enjoy the video. Thank you to Michael Teehee with the Common Interest Media, who makes this happen for us. And we'll see you next time.